Hello, storytellers. The Storytelling Run. I'm here to talk about For the Lord RPG wounds and afflictions and things that give you penalties to your rolls. And wounds are the grim, brutal aspect of combat. When you go down in vitality, hit points, you can go down to 0. You can die, but you get life saves as well. Or you can go down to 0 just due to exhaustion, and that's sort of the discretion of the GM. If it's due to like getting hit and you take the hit point damage, then that's could be fatal. But if you lose vitality through your own mishaps or foibles or whatever the GM decides, then you could just be at 0 exhaustion and you just need rest or a Gatorade or whatever. So that's sort of the GM can kind of be a little discretionary on that. But let's get to the scary stuff. So here is the net 20 critical roll. That's when you can get a grievous wound. And a grievous wound is you're at a minus D6, minus D8, minus D12, whatever the grievous wound is, every roll. So you have to roll your dice and maybe have a red die or a negative die that you roll with it, like in a pool of dice or whatever. Or the GM can roll it and subtract it from all of your rolls. So when you take a nat 20, if you hit someone with a nat 20, you get to roll 2 damage dice. The damage die of the weapon determines the die rank penalty of the grievous wound. So if it's a battle axe, which is D10, that's minus D10. You're already about to die. If a battle axe gives you a grievous wound, think about a battle axe, a great sword, okay? If a dagger gives you a grievous wound, you're at minus D4. And it has a lethal 4 as well, so it has a higher chance of giving you a minus D4 a lot, but whatever. But a sword will give you, if it's at minus D6, will give you a minus D6 grievous wound. Now, some of you will be able to increase that die as a skill, and thusly you can also increase the grievous wound. So that's scary. If you get a grievous wound, you're in bad shape. I mean, think about it. Whenever someone gets a grievous wound in real life, they have to back off. They have to let someone else take their place, like if you have a line of men. If you take a big wound, so this game is not like D&D 5e. This is brutal and scary. And yes, you can die from a grievous wound very quickly. So that's what this game is about. So have fun. Yay. Okay. Now, if you want to play it nice, you can do grievous wounds as just minus D4, first one, minus D6, minus D8. That's kind of what I did initially. But I've changed it now to be a little more brutal, that it's the actual damage of the thing if you get a grievous wound. So some weapons do D12. Now you don't die on D12, you die on the next one. But if you already have a wound and then you get to take a D12 grievous wound, you're dead. That's it. No, there's no save. There is the blessings. There's a revive or a resurrect type of thing in there. So yes, you can be saved by a pastor or by a blessing, within immediate sort of moment, not like a real resurrection like, Jesus does in the Bible. But like in the heat of the moment, someone can save you from that grievous wound using a miracle of healing. So there is that. You can also if you have an energy shield, and this is for the sci-fi, or a shield in Dark Ages, or your great helm, if you have a great helm, you can negate the grievous wound. So you can say that shield or helm is completely destroyed. The battle axe crushes your helm. I would make the person at minus D4 with a little blood coming down, but saved by the helm. But the helm is useless. You got to take the helm off. So you could do that. You can sacrifice your shield, your helm, or your energy shield for to avoid that grievous wound during that combat situation. So you can do that. Also, if your armor save rolls a 6 or higher during a grievous wound, if you have armor that's D6 or D8, D10, and it rolls a 6 or higher, that too will absorb and take that grievous wound. And I would downgrade that armor from a D8 to a D6, like it's damaged a bit as well. And that's discretionary on the GM's part. But if you roll a 6 or above on your armor save, you also negate the grievous wound. And this is for fumbling. If you roll a 6 or above on your secondary bonus die for skills or whatever, a 6 or above, you avoid any fumbles if you roll a nat 1 on the D20 roll. So you roll a D20 plus your bonus D4, D6, D8, whatever your skill is. If that bonus die rolls a 6 or above and you roll a net 1 on the 20, you can negate the fumble. So the GM will not make you fumble. Okay, so that's a cool little thing. And then let's go down now to the wounds. So grievous wound, I kind of pretty much explained it on what I just said above. There's vitality, which is exhaustion, and there's dying. You shouldn't be afraid of dying. You're supposed to lay your life down for your brother and protect others and stuff. So, you don't die in battle. You don't kill people in battle. As a Christian, you die to save people. One goes negative vitality within life save. So this is if your vitality goes below 0, and you are it's through fighting and physical stuff, right? So you need to beat a 12 with your aggression or spirit each turn, like a life save. And if successful, you gain D4 vitality. If you fail, you minus D6 to vitality. So that's how life save works, and it keeps going each turn until you go into the negative of your vitality number. So if you have a 10 vitality, if you go to negative 10, then you die. Same thing. So same as dying from wounds. Okay, and let's go to conditions. So fear is constantly. I constantly use fear in the game. Fear, especially the minions, fear their lord or their witch or their shaman, and Christians can succumb to fear, but they have a better resistance to it than people who don't have the Holy Spirit. That's based on our Christian belief. And we also don't have fear against tyranny because we know that we have a judge. So we know we're being judged by God more than we are by man. So we don't fear man as much as we do God. Now we fear death. We fear pain. Jesus described really well fear in the Garden of Gethsemane, how much Jesus feared pain, and he invented death and pain. So he feared death. So God fears death. That's how powerful God made death. That's how amazing death is. God fears it himself, in the Garden of Gethsemane. I'm not saying God fears things, but he certainly knows that he's going to go through this pain and suffering, and so he's stressing and freaking out, So yes, we Christians certainly fear pain and death. It's within all of us. So we will have a bit of fear. We can succumb to fear, but we have a better bonus to it, and we have the power of prayer to counter fear. But fear is basically a penalty die to your rolls. That's all it is. And most things in here are just penalty dies to your rolls, or maybe some unique things might lower your trait temporarily, your aggression trait or your spirit trait or whatever. Those are rare though. I kind of put them in just specific abilities. But for the most part, fear is just, and it's separate from grievous wounds. So if you have a minus D4 penalty because a dark crocodile came out of the swamp and everyone needs to roll their fear and a couple of you fail. And that one to me is a normal fear. It's not a dark spiritual fear like if a undead or evil possessed fear roll. And that one you actually kind of get a better save. But against a giant crocodile jumping out of the swamp, you can just be as fearful as a regular person. And so you could have a minus D4 to all your rolls, but that's separate from a grievous wound. And I used to have duration, but now I don't. I just based on if you kill the crocodile, then the fear goes away. Or if someone gets a really good hit on the crocodile, then I will allow everyone else to either end their fear or resist again, like they get encouragement. Or maybe a cleric stops doing anything and he does exhortations to try to to end everyone's fear, and so he could do that, and then all their fears ended. So I don't really worry about duration when it comes to things like fear or conditions like fear, because a duration, because it's really based on like the role playing and how you are changed in the game, in the combat situation or whatever. Restrained is just being tackled or grappled or whatever, and that's pretty much a given. But again, that number is separate from a grievous wound. So you could be restrained and wounded, and that would be 2 penalty die. Which would be pretty devastating. You could be in fear, grappled, and wounded. Those are 3 separate die, and they do not combine. So you don't die from going above negative D12. Affliction, however, does combine with grievous wounds, because an affliction is poison, toxins, infections, anything physically draining of your body. That will apply to grievous wounds. So that one combines with your grievous wound. If you get slashed by a dagger and it has poison on it, so that is, let's say you get a grievous wound from the dagger, which is minus D4, and then it has a poison that gives you minus D4. So now you're at minus D6. And if you go past the minus D12, you die. And that poison, by the way, from the dagger, if he hits you again, he doesn't add another minus D4. He could add another grievous wound though, if he does another nat 20 or daggers can actually do a grievous wound if they roll 4 on their damage roll. So that's particular about daggers and crossbow bolts and arrows, because we all know arrows, bolts, and daggers can kill you, unlike in D&D where they never can't seem to kill you at all. But in real life and in my real For the Lord RPG, they're dangerous. Okay, so a woman has a dagger. Generally speaking, she will have a dagger, and she can get good at it. She can make it D6, D10. Her skills can make it get better and better. So she's really good and dangerous at it with it. Again, it uses her aggressions, and her aggression will never be high, as high as a man's. So she's got to be aware of that. So that's it. That's okay. Down, minus D4, prone, fallen, dying. Yeah, this is the vitality thing. So that's it. That's it. If, the condition of grievous wound and afflictions can kill you, and they combine. The rest of them, restrained or fear or anything else you can come up with, confused, whatever, those are separate die. They could combine. I would say the fear, no, the restraint and fear would be two different die. And that's going to hurt if you have 3 or 4 different penalty die that don't combine. So afflictions and grievous wounds do combine. The rest of them, restraint and fear, are separate penalty dice. And if you have and by the way, just to add a little more here, most curses and evil magic things or whatever really just do fear or some sort of penalty die to the person, and it could be confusion, it could be fear, it could be awe struck. And those, again, the duration is really based on a discretion by the GM, based on the situation. And that's what most curses do, along with affliction. I take that back. A witch might have some sort of curse or evil black magic upon the Christians, which in essence is a fear and poison thing. Now, if they do some sort of puffed poisonous thing at them, I would just give them one affliction, the poison. I wouldn't give them fear and a poison, unless their intent was to fear them or their intent was to poison them in whatever curse or magic they're doing. I would just do one of them. I wouldn't do a combo of the two. Now they could do fear on one turn and then poison on the next. That's fine. But most you can make up curses, black magic stuff that the witches do, sorcerers do. And it really just does that. It does some sort of fear thing or some sort of affliction thing. And however you want to describe it, or, it could be a restrained thing like mud or something sticky that makes them stick or get stuck or dirty or whatever. So it could be a restrained thing like that. But that's the essence of any of the casting curses or black magic. The essence of them is really, that's the end result if they succeed. Whatever it is, whatever sort of mud throw or Greek fire, well, that'll be pain. That'll be vitality and a wound, possibly. Whatever it is that they're doing. So you can kind of make up stuff on the spot, whatever the sorcerers, whatever concoction or grift they've figured out to cause harm upon people. And the end result is these conditions. I hope I made that clear. I just kind of was going off there and describing the simple way that I use grievous wounds, brutal grievous wounds, and conditions in this game. And they're all just a couple pages, and that's all you need. Alrighty, that's it for this little lesson on For the Lord RPG, the Dark Ages, Apostles of the Pop, and Christians in Space. And more settings will come. I'm just getting back, got to work on this stuff. All right, thanks for listening. And remember, in the game of life, roll Holy Dice.